It's no secret that there's a lot of foreign films and foreign TV shows that have come out in the recent years that have been amazing and have been blowing out a lot of the competition that have been made in America. Just a couple of years ago in 2020, we had Parasite win over some amazing movies like The Joker, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Marriage Story, and other great movies. And if you watch it, you would have known this movie deserved to win, even though there was a lot of outrage from a certain group of people who didn't want this movie to win because of certain reasons, mainly due to the fact that it's a foreign movie. And since then, foreign films and TV have been gaining so much traction and have been gaining so much success. So much so that a show like The Squid Game can be the biggest show in 2020. It was the biggest show in 2021, and in past years, a show like Squid Game would have never been number one just off of the fact that it was in a different language. Or like the fact that anime has become so much mainstream, so much so that an anime movie like Demon Slayer can make more money in the box office than some big franchises like Ant-Man 3, like Creed 3, and so many other huge franchises, even though it's not a big franchise like these other movies are. And now a more recent example, like Godzilla Minus One, just came out recently and is now considered one of the best Godzilla movies ever, and was made with pennies considering what Hollywood budgets are. So I kind of want to break down to you why foreign films and TV shows have been doing so well, and why, in comparison, American movies and TV shows don't seem as good as these foreign films, and why we've been getting some slop over the recent years for American films. Now let's start off with the obvious. Foreign films are not some sudden boom that happened over the recent years. We are just made more aware of it because of things like the internet, and we are also more open to reading subtitles, or for some people, they can never get over the subtitles and have to hear some awful dubs like in the Squid Game.
You and me will be the best team.
But also it took time for foreign films to catch up with America. When it came to film, even though in the past we had gone revolutionary films like Old Boy with amazing scenes and amazing twists, or movies like Come and See, which is an amazing anti-war movie in the 80s. Even though foreign films can release amazing films like the ones I said, America could just release X-Men 2 or The Hulk and just can completely destroy movies like Old Boy when it came to financial success, or release Big in the 80s and dwarf Come and See. So even though great foreign films were being made, America could always be the big dogs because they can just release any movie, and America still is the top dogs when it comes to making big blockbuster movies that reach $1 billion, because we get movies like Oppenheimer and Barbie, and no foreign film can reach the heights of those when it comes to a single movie. Like, it will be a very long time till we see a foreign film reach the heights of the Avatar or Avengers Endgame. But even though foreign films can't make these crazy amounts of money, they don't use it as an excuse. They kind of more use it to be more creative. Since they can't make billions of dollars, they're given smaller budgets to use for creating a lot of these movies, so they have to use their time wisely. They have to create creative models, they have to create creative shots, they have to think of ideas ahead of time because they don't have money to waste. And they have to compensate creatively for not having a lot of money. Because unlike foreign films, America, when they're making movies, they don't actually have to plan their sets like a lot of foreign films and foreign TV shows. They can just figure it out on the day, because they have millions and hundreds of $1,000,000 to spend on a single movie. And they don't care how much money they give the director, because the studio, they're just spewing out hundreds of $1,000,000. So there's a lot of times where a lot of directors and a lot of movie productions just figure out what they're doing on the day, which ends up wasting a lot of time for production value, for paying actors, which a lot of foreign films and TV shows can't afford. That's why we hear about Disney giving directors hundreds of $1,000,000 just off of the idea of making a Marvel TV show and not even reading the script until it's done, which just creates a whole mess that a lot of foreign films don't have to deal with, because they come to the studio with the whole entire deal laid out, and even before they get onto filming, they have beginning, middle, and end of production already planned out, which a lot of Hollywood nowadays don't do that. Not to mention, the studio likes to mess up with a lot of these creative ideas that the directors have, which just creates a whole slew of messes. That's why we get big directors like Michael Bay talking about how American movie sets are just a mess.
My thing in the movie business is there's so much waste, and there is so much dicking around in the film business.
And since American films behind the scenes have such a mess, by the studios, by the directors, by the actors, having a bunch of stuff being messed up along the way in the production, foreign films don't have to deal with that because they have a clear vision going in, because they're not allowed to make these mistakes because of their limited budgets. Because if they do make a mistake, they can't afford to fix it in post like a lot of Hollywood movies do, because they're working with a tight leash, because the studio is not going to give them more money to fix an error they made, because this movie is not going to make hundreds of $1,000,000 just off of the fact it's a big franchise. So even though foreign films don't make as much money as American ones, they make a pretty good profit because they're not wasting money along the way in production value and only need tens of millions of dollars to make their money back or make a profit. And a movie like Godzilla Minus One only making $100 million is a huge success, while if it was an American film, that would be considered a flop because that's just half of the budget they're working with. They need $300 million to make their budget back. And that's not even considering the marketing budgets for some of these big films, which have ads on New York Times Square, that have ads on every single YouTube videos that a lot of the foreign films are not getting. Even though foreign film live action movies have struggled, when it comes to anime movies and animated TV shows, they don't struggle financially as much as their live action counterparts. Foreign animation has always been super successful and very influential, and at the forefront of great foreign animation has mainly been Japan. They have been destroying American animation films for decades now. Unlike Disney and Pixar, who didn't evolve with their audiences because they always seen their animated films as for TV shows or for kids. Even the ex-Disney CEO said it himself. He didn't want to put so much emphasis on these animated films because at the end of the day, they're just for kids. That's how he put it. But if you look at Japan's animated films, they have been consistently revolutionary movies. Movies like Ghost in the Shell, inspiring some great movies like The Matrix. Also Spirited Away, considered one of the best films, not in animation, but just in films in general. Even Evangelion and End of Evangelion had inspired so many great movies that have come out since its release, with its amazing alien design, so much so that you have directors out here talking about how some of their characters are heavily inspired by the angels or aliens that show up in Evangelion. And even a movie like Akira that is revolutionary of every facet of animation and storytelling, and is just one of the best movies ever made, with so many great themes and so many great storytelling that was just revolutionary in so many different ways. While American animation just barely took a step to become more serious and have more adult animation, they are barely just trying to catch up to the success foreign films and foreign animated shows have. Even though a movie like Frozen 2 can be the highest grossing animated movie, there's a lot of foreign shows that have bigger brands and it could be way more profitable than American ones because of the simple fact that the artists and the studios take their animation very seriously instead of being secondary to live action movies. But ultimately, the reason why foreign films and TV shows have been a lot better or perceived a lot better is because when these foreign films are being made, they are not often made to make money or pump out a product to build up a bigger franchise. It's because they have a good idea that they're actually passionate about, and not a director making a movie just to make his way up in Hollywood so he can make the movie he actually wants to make. These foreign films are made because they actually have a good idea that they're actually passionate about, that they want to share with the world, and don't care if it makes $1 billion. Obviously, it would be nice if they made $1 billion, but that's not really their goal at the end of the day. At the end of the day, they're just trying to tell a good story. And yes, there's obviously a lot of bad foreign films that we don't hear about because we only hear about the good ones that make it over to us in America. So obviously the foreign films that we see are going to be the good ones because the rest of the world will only see the shining gold among all the gray. And even though I talk so negatively about these films made in America, there's still a lot of American films that are amazing. Like a movie like Oppenheimer that has amazing storytelling, that has amazing actors, and is a story that can't be told in anywhere else but America. Movies like Pulp Fiction, movies like The Dark Knight, movies like Into the Spider-Verse that showed us how good animation can be in America. Because at the end of the day, amazing movies and TV shows can be made anywhere, as long as there are people who want to create interesting stories that immerse us into the world, that make us feel for the characters. So no matter if it's in Japanese or it's in English or it's in Mandarin, nothing should stop you from watching amazing pieces of art, even if you have to turn on the captions. Because back in the day, a movie like Godzilla Minus One would have never made $100 million. Even though it might seem small in Hollywood comparison, it means so much to the director and to the actors and to the special effect workers that a movie that is made in Japan and that is in Japanese can be shared with people from across the world, from across countries with different languages and different cultures, just because they told a good story. And it also shows that we don't need these bad dubs or these American retold versions of these amazing stories, because us as consumers don't care if you speak a different language. Because at the end of the day, we only care for good stories and stories that make us feel something. Not a movie that hits story beats just to hit story beats, that lacks heart and lacks a soul that comes from a soulless studio. So when someone says every movie is a cash grab, just know that there's artists who are perfecting their story, refining it Not just because at the end of the day it's going to make money, but because they put their heart into it and they truly believe that the rest of the world will love it as much as they do. And I'm happy to live in a time period where movies like Godzilla Minus One and shows like Jujutsu Kaisen can be made and not have to suffer about worrying about, can they make their money back? Can this even get a sequel? Can the show continue? Can this movie even break even? Like they did in the past with all these other great movies that were so amazing, but they couldn't even make a sequel to it because they couldn't make their money back. While you had some of these bad American films that had bad storytelling and had studios just wanting to make money, getting a sequel just off of the fact that it's a big brand. Now that's my tangent on foreign films. Obviously, I know there's still a lot of people who don't like foreign films and can't get over the fact they have to read subtitles. Some people still have to turn on the dub to listen to some of these bad dubs on these foreign films or foreign TV shows, and people are still xenophobic when it comes to foreign films and be like, I can only watch films that are made in America. They have to be red, white, and blue for me to watch them. If they ain't speaking that English, they just speaking the mumbo jumbo. Because if you can't read words on the bottom of your screen, I'm sorry, buddy, you're cooked when it comes to watching some good stories. And you'll be missing out on some of the best art you could have seen just because you couldn't read some subtitles. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. The least you can do is like and subscribe, because 99% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. So don't be that 99% and hit that subscribe button. Hope to see you guys next time. Later. Peace.
If that's not the way to